Alex Albon is about to begin his most important season in F1 yet, and I'm genuinely worried for him. It is make or break for Alex Albon in 2025, because Alex Albon is this season, as we know, coming up against Carlos Sainz, the driver many believe should not have lost his seat in Ferrari anyway for Lewis Hamilton. And well, Carlos Sainz has definitely hit the ground running when it comes to Williams. And well, we're only, as I'm recording this, 2 days into the new year, but Carlos Sainz of course started his Williams career only a few days after the last race in 2024 in Abu Dhabi testing. And what will come as a stark reminder to the challenge that is ahead of Alex Albon and his fanbase is that Carlos Sainz in his Abu Dhabi testing set his fastest lap 2 tenths quicker than Alex Albon was able to achieve in his qualifying only a few days prior in Abu Dhabi. Now, yes, I do understand that different days and different track conditions and air conditions can contribute to lap times being faster or slower. I totally get that. However, let's just look at this in isolation of Carlos Sainz. The fact still remains is that he's jumped into a car that he has never driven before. And at the end of 1 day of testing, he's been able to set a lap that was quicker than Alex Albon's was. A driver who has been at that team for 4 years now and was able to be 2 tenths quicker than the lap Alex Albon set at the weekend. I mean, that is still a tremendous feat and just shows how good of a driver Carlos Sainz is and how of an adaptable driver he is, which most of the best drivers you consider on an F1 grid are. They are the most adaptable. They can go from team to team and they can drive cars quick in relative terms to their teammates, especially than any other driver particularly can, who we don't value so highly, such as, say, Nicholas Latifi and Logan Sargent, the 2 teammates that Alex Albon spent the majority of his Williams career alongside. 2 drivers that Alex Albon has beaten comfortably in those years alongside them. And look, at the end of the day, all you can do is beat the person who is in front of you. But of course, Alex has done better than that, because he has showcased not just how poor those drivers are, but also what he can do in a car that many believe arguably shouldn't have scored as many points as he has done. And yes, Alex has put in some great performances over the years in an underperforming Williams. But the question has always been asked, has Alex Albon done wonders in that underperforming Williams, or has he just been made to look good by 2 really poor teammates? And well, we kind of found out that answer halfway through, or at least towards the latter end of the 2024 season, with the introduction of Franco Colapinto, the relatively unknown Argentinian who had just been promoted from F2 midway through its season. And well, he started off at Monza, where he had a respectable P12 finish, finishing a few places behind his teammate Alex Albon. He comfortably had the better of his brand new rookie teammates, but it was in Azerbaijan, Baku, where Colapinto raised eyebrows. Because while Alex Albon had never been out-qualified by his teammate Logan Sargent and had only been out-qualified by Logan in 2 sprint shootouts in their 1.5 year time together, Franco Colapinto out-qualified Alex Albon to P9 nonetheless by 3 tenths. Alex Albon also had a great qualifying and stuck it in P10 to round off a great qualifying performance by Williams. But wow, that raised a lot of eyebrows, as we just mentioned, up and down the paddock and throughout the F1 fanbase. Now, Alex was able to turn around his fortunes in the race, starting on the alternate strategy where Franco Colapinto started on the mediums, Albon started on the hards, and he was able to overcut his teammate and finish in P7. But Franco Colapinto rounded off a great weekend, his 2nd race weekend in F1, with a P8. And well, Alex Albon, for the first time in his Williams career, actually had a challenge on his hands with his teammate. And the question rightfully being asked was, could Alex Albon fend off, for once, a competitive teammate, if, of course, Colapinto could keep up this form we just saw in Azerbaijan? And well, the answer to Colapinto's form was yes, he could, because he backed it up again in Singapore with another great qualifying P12, a place behind his teammate, and separated by less than 1 tenth nonetheless. So could Alex fend off Colapinto in Singapore? He'd been pressured by his teammate in qualifying, and well, no. is the answer, because Colapinto made an unbelievable race start, picking his apex down at the first corner to get himself into the top 10, and well, his teammate wasn't too best pleased by it.
He's Echo to dive bomb. What's he doing?
Not a great response there from Alex in another high pressured environment. It reminds me of They Raced Me So Hard.
Guys, they raced me so hard.
But it didn't get better for Alex, because Singapore, unfortunately, he was forced into an early retirement due to a mechanical issue that plagued Williams throughout the season, and then he headed to Circuit of the Americas. A race weekend that also didn't go too well for him. In sprint quali, he was due to make it through to Q2, but spun at the second to last corner, meaning that he went out in Q1, while his teammate, Colapinto, qualified in P10. Alex made amends for this in the main qualifying for the race and out-qualified Colapinto by less than 1/100th of a second. But he got caught up in a tangle in a free wide at the first corner, collided with Esteban Ocon after leaving the door open for Lewis Hamilton up the inside. This completely ruined Alex's race and he finished down in 16th, and to rub salt in his wounds, Franco finished in the top 10. Now, Alex did respond to this poor run of form that he had with Franco Colapinto's introduction. I think this definitely caught him maybe off guard with how good Colapinto was, and as well how much media loving Colapinto was getting. I don't think maybe Albon took to that too kindly, and his on-track performances showed as a result. But he did respond in Mexico, the next race, qualifying in the top 10 where Colapinto was way off the pace. Of course, the race didn't go the way it wanted to, getting caught up in that free wide with Yuki on his outside and Gasly squeezing him. Nowhere for him to go. I don't think he could have done anything else there. He was in that position after a relatively okay start. And then Brazil was really an up and down weekend for Alex Albon, because the sprint quali was really good. He qualified in the top 10 and he finished in the top 10 come the sprint race. Completely had the better of his rookie teammate, who, in fairness, all the rookies struggled in those severe conditions we saw at Interlagos that weekend. And then it came to the qualifying where he was continuing that great performance. And, well, we know how it ended. While he was in P2 at the time, he binned it. And it meant that he couldn't start the race in the afternoon, as Williams didn't have enough time to repair the car. Of course, running on a few spare bits anyway. Williams, after the tremendous amount of damage both cars had experienced throughout the duration of the year, which I will touch on in a sec, because a lot of that has to be attributed also to Alex Albon. But what was a high moment for Alex very quickly became a low moment. And I'm not sure how much I believe it, but I do think it was driver error. But Williams, James Vowles, as so often he did with Logan Sargent, came out in the defence of Alex Albon and stated that there was a brake issue when he headed down into turn 1. Not so sure. I think he touched the white line and it was driver error. And yeah, unfortunately, it was another costly mistake for Williams and for Alex Albon. And so the end of Williams' season wasn't their strongest by any means, struggling to put a car together for the rest of the season using old spec parts. That, yes, was because of crashes that happened due to Colapinto in Brazil and in Vegas, but can be attributed most likely to him being a rookie still. Brazil, we also saw other rookies, as mentioned, such as Ollie Behrman struggle, and Vegas was just, yes, pure driver error that hopefully he never makes again, of just turning in too early, and it turned out to be a very costly crash. But what Franco Colapinto's addition to the Williams team halfway through the season did is answer that question that, yes, Alex Albon has been made to look much better than maybe his performances have shown, due to his very underperforming teammates. That Williams car is capable of much more. A young, inexperienced F2 driver thrust halfway through the season has been able to match Alex Albon's pace almost instantly. Yes, there were some wobbles in performance to be expected from a rookie, but what if Williams hadn't persevered with Logan Sargent? What if they had gone for a more higher caliber driver at the start of the season, or a more experienced driver than that of Logan Sargent? Who knows what type of performances they could have put in alongside Alex Albon, and where Williams could have finished in the Constructors. But for Alex Albon, I don't just worry about 2025 because of his performances alongside Colapinto. I worry about it because of what I've seen throughout the duration of this past season, and that is a lot of crashes. Now, yes, some of them were not his fault. He got caught up in some unfortunate incidents, as you are no doubt going to do in a very long season while fighting in the midfield. However, there's one area that has kind of been overlooked when it comes to criticism of Alex Albon, and that is the amount of times he crashes in practice in very low pressure situations. Heading back to Australia, the third race of this 24 race long season, and well, Alex binned the car in my opinion unforgivable circumstances because he did it in practice when it was well documented that Williams had no spare chassis available at Australia. Of course, Logan Sargeant hadn't been performing very well in the Williams car, and Williams took the approach to give Alex Albon Logan Sargeant's chassis so that he could compete in the race. A track that, yes, Alex Albon has historically gone well at, but the matter of the fact is that he knew that the car had to be kept intact. Yes, a Formula One driver wants to go out there and drive as fast as possible every single lap that they do, but it's just not feasible for many a reason, strategy reasons, data gathering, especially in practice, because practice is not where you are out there to set your fastest lap times. That comes in qualifying. It maybe be a bit different if he binned it in quali. Maybe if he got caught up in a racing incident, at least get it to Sunday where both cars can start, or at least your own car can start. And unfortunately for Alex, he completely removed that potential opportunity for Williams and did it in practice, which for me, I think deserves so much more criticism. And well, he's lucky that his teammate at the time was Logan Sargeant and not Carlos Sainz, because on the flip side, if he was being completely outperformed that weekend and he did that, it would look 10 times worse. And another incident that went under the radar because it wasn't that dramatic, but did cost more money to Williams and more damage to them, was his contact with the Wall of Champions in FP3 nonetheless, breaking the right rear suspension. Another practice session where he's caused damage. And who can forget Alex Albon crashing into Ollie Bearman in FP1, another practice session at Mexico. And these are just moments that, while he's not even under pressure, make you worry what will happen when he is put under pressure. And he is most definitely going to find himself under pressure this year in 2025 because his teammate is Carlos Sainz. And what's more is that there's no guarantee that Williams is still going to be able to fight for points. Now, I really hope that they do, for Carlos Sainz's sake and for Alex Albon's sake as well, and for Williams as a team, because I am a fan of Williams. I am a fan of Alex Albon. I always want him to do well, and I hope James Vowles is able to continue to push that team forward like he has done since his arrival. But there is no guarantee of that. We have seen the field spread become less and less, and there is a possibility with their issues at the end of last season, monetary issues mostly, and the cost cap, but there is a possibility that they may end up being the next stake F1, where they are just 1 second off of the pace of everyone. Going back to times a few years ago where George Russell, the only thing he had to fight for was his position against his teammates. And well, Williams could very much so find themselves in that position, which puts even more pressure on that inter-team battle with Albon and Carlos Sainz. And as we have just run through, Alex actually isn't that much of a consistent driver. Even in low pressured environments, he is still making mistakes. Carlos Sainz is someone who will not make those sort of mistakes. Yes, he has done throughout his career in the past, but he has definitely cleaned up his act and is arguably one of the most consistent drivers on the grid. 2024 was super consistent from Carlos, a high amount of points scored, only finished 2 points behind Oscar Piastri, who arguably many say had the fastest car, or at least the most consistently fast car throughout the majority of this season. And yet Carlos didn't even compete in every single race weekend, of course missing out in Saudi Arabia with that appendix removal. So Alex is really going to have his work cut out for him against Carlos Sainz. He really needs to clean up his act, be more consistent, and deal with these high pressured environments, especially against his teammate for next season, no matter what the scenario tends to be. Of course, in addition to this, he's got Colapinto, the teammate, the fresh young Argentinian who has nothing to lose. Maybe that played into Colapinto's hands with these 9 races that he had, but he is definitely going to be looking over James Vowles' shoulder, poking him in the back for every single time Alex Albon makes a mistake. When is my opportunity? And it's not like we haven't seen Williams and other teams make changes midway through a season before. So where Alex Albon has had that freedom of knowing he is the quickest driver in the team and having everything his own way, having the bargaining power over a contract because he's the only driver who could score points, that whole situation at Williams has now completely flipped on its head for him with Carlos Sainz's arrival and of course the performances of Colapinto at the end of 2024. It's really going to be a tough season for Alex Albon. He really needs to dig deep, and I'm intrigued to see how he's going to deal with it because I do believe it is make or break for him. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think he'll be able to come through this, Albon, or do you not have much faith? I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts.